Optimization of resources has become a key component of project delivery, especially in these trying times when survival is the name of the game. Organizations cannot simply sit back to weather the storm. Survival means pushing forward to ensure that when the cycle turns and opportunities of the new normal present themselves, the organization is ready. Right-sizing strategic and operational initiatives in this context then becomes extremely important. And that's what we'll cover in this knowledge sharing series. We will share a point of view about how to go about calculating complexity on an initiative before commencing, so as to better deploy resources and manage risk for the portfolio of projects planned for a given period. We will cover the following topics, starting with a framework adapted from academic research, mapping that onto the context of a typical real-life project within an organization, from construct to the project implementation process, the actual project complexity calculation model, and how to execute on it, given a strategic or operational initiative or big project, and then ending off with a view on construct-based risk management strategies across the entire execution process. Let's get going. So let's start by mapping out the problem statement through the description of a typical project context. Say the area of the business is a central shared services project office where the portfolio of projects is planned, managed, and delivered on. Depending on the specific context of the organization, the project resources could either all be sitting within this office, spread across the various parts of the business based on functional specialization, or a combination of both. The main KPI of this office could be to optimize project delivery and the resultant value for all key projects across the organization. To be able to deliver on this mandate, the key inputs include a project implementation model signed off by key project delivery stakeholders within the organization, as well as the key organizational strategic KPIs for the period. The need being addressed is as detailed by the given points. The solution is what we're going to outline in this point of view, outlining constructs, calculation, as well as the execution, with the desired end result of optimized resource planning and assignment. We start with outlining the constructs, the first being organizational complexity. The elements defined for organizational complexity as a construct of project complexity are as outlined here. The definitions of each of the elements are outlined as follows. Note here that other elements of project teaming are equally as important. However, for purposes of project complexity calculation, the attributes related to partner or perhaps vendor management tend to have a far bigger effect on the complexity of the project. The next construct is technical complexity with respect to the elements outlined. Differentiation deals with what is required to execute the project, as well as what are the intended outputs. In this context, inputs refer to things such as capital required, equipment, policies, etc. The outputs refer to what the project ultimately seeks to achieve, both in the short term on a task level, as well as in the longer term with regards to strategic KPIs as well as operational objectives. It is a common fact that organizations embark on projects with very little information or without spending an adequate amount of time really thinking out what their project seeks to achieve, which speaks to goals as described in element 2. The consequence of this is typically an ambiguous scope accompanied by what could best be described as flimsy requirements. This is what the element of scope captures here. Technical doesn't necessarily mean technology. Technical tasks can refer to activities that require deep functional expertise, such as corporate finance, supply chain management, or even technology-related expertise such as machine learning. We move on to environmental complexity, which deals with the elements of stakeholders as well as market complexity. The project might experience the impact of developments within the business landscape the organization is operating. Depending on the context of the organization as well as the organization's project portfolio, these landscape developments may lead to pressures placed on the organization's leadership, which may then filter down to various projects and strategic initiatives in a way that causes strife and instability. This is what the element of market conditions captures. We then deal with the construct of complexity due to uncertainty. The triple constraint deals with uncertainty in relation to time, cost, and scope. With current developments in the technological landscape, especially the ones related to insights generation and automation, there are a lot of technology developments that might require knowledge acquisition in the form of upskilling of teams or perhaps, depending on the context of the organization, knowledge acquisition through external venturing. Such is sure to add quite a bit of complexity to the project. If you've been part of projects of varying sizes, you likely would have experienced the loud but yet quite inept stakeholder. In many cases, these type of stakeholders tend to be quite insignificant in the bigger scheme of things, but are able to wreak unimaginable havoc, adding unnecessary complexity to the project. This type of complexity is in large respect what is being measured by this element, along with the highly influential stakeholders that appear out of nowhere in the middle of the project with big changes to the scope and requirements. The last construct is dynamics, as measured through the element of change management. This deals with the complexity presented by the extent of changes to systems, people, and processes as a direct result of the project in question. And thus the theoretical framework that will underpin the process of the project complexity calculation of a portfolio of projects within a given environment. We're now at the end of section 1. See you in section 2, where we will model the application of the framework to an actual project.